when you have you're 17 games in and you have some players that don't have the number they would like in the goal column, we're talking about it, fans are talking about it. Is there a point as a coach where, I mean, I know you have goals you want them to achieve, but do you back off because you don't want it to get too heavy on them? I'm just wondering the psychology of that.
You keep coaching them, and some every player is different. Some you got to prod a little bit, and some you got to tell them they're doing some good things, but you got to just keep doing it, and it'll come. So every player is different. We chart a lot of different things that can help players, and it can help them in a good way or in a reality way, where they might think they're playing good and they're not playing as good as they think, and then other guys that are down on themselves, but they're actually creating some stuff that, if they stay with it, it's just a matter of time before hopefully they start going in. So every player is different.
What are you seeing from Nuge's game 5-on-5? He says, I'm getting shots, but he's usually, it's most of his points, 3/4 of his points the last 5 years, 5-on-5, but not much this year.
Yeah, he's had some opportunities. Again, like we chart a lot of that stuff, and he's around some opportunities, but not much going in. Not much going in for him, and then not much going in other than Neeler a little bit early, but he's been quiet here, so not much from the wingers either. So when you're not scoring and your wingers aren't scoring, nobody's scoring. That's kind of where we're at.
You go into every game probably thinking, you opposing coach going against star players, and you look at McDavid and Draisaitl, if he can stop them, we're going to win the game, because we're looking at the other guys in the roster and they're not getting points. So incumbent on the second line then in a lot of nights saying, hey,
it would certainly help.
One goal.
Yeah, and sometimes you might not even score, but you got to be dangerous. The other team's got to know you're in the game, and that's where that second line needs to have a bigger impact on the game. And like I say, you might not get the results you want, but you have to have, the other team has to say, hey, that line was good out there tonight, or we need a different matchup against that line because they're playing in the offensive zone a lot. So we haven't had enough of that. It's a good point by you to recognize that we need more of that. I would agree with you.
And the player movements today, Yurchko just had a really good camp, but
yeah, really good, and just couldn't translate it in here. So he'll go down. Hopefully, he can get some confidence down there, and next time he gets an opportunity, bring some of that up here. Kobe came up and played real well. Like he played strong, but we got Sheehan back ready to go, and Archibald ready to go. So we'll see, but Kaber, he came up and was down a little bit. When I chatted with him, he was interesting. He was putting a lot of pressure on himself coming out of camp to make the team, and I think that was affecting his play. And so he was down a little bit. He came back with a smile on his face and some confidence from playing a few games in the American League, and really played well. But we're in a bit of a numbers crunch here with Archibald coming back on, and Nygaard is real close, so we had to make some space.
Dave, with Archibald and Shan coming back, those are two veteran NHL guys. Just what kind of boost do they give that bottom six? And then having them back with Jujar, what's reasonable in terms of expectation from that line, which looked really good in the preseason?
Well, they looked good in preseason, and there were some games early when we've been chasing some games here lately. I told the players today, we're chasing some games. It just seems like like some of the tinkering we're doing to try to find something in a game that we're behind in, or you're just trying to maximize players, so you get tinkering. And today we wanted to just kind of stabilize, and we get those stabilizing veterans in your lineup. Both of them come in. That line, like you say, was a good solid line for us early in the year, so we went back to them. We left the big line together, and we're hoping that Nuge and Neil and Chason, they all have a resume that say they can put some points on the board. Now we need that to happen. And then our other line, you got a couple penalty killers there, and Haas, who's actually, his game's been not bad lately, so trying to stabilize and just see where it goes.
Dave, when it comes to a young defenseman, and I guess specifically Joel Pearson, how does a player like that gain and then reestablish a coach's trust if he's made bad games or made a mistake?
First of all, the coach has to recognize what we're dealing with here, right? So he came off an injury, worked his tail off to get back in, and there's a little spike that goes with it. So all of a sudden you haven't done much for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden you're getting thrown to the wolves, So there's a spike, and then there's a little drop, from the workload that he's built up on. So the other night I think we saw a real drop from him, and some of the testing and stuff we do here allowed us to see that drop. So hopefully now he's going to go back up on that upswing. And we felt last night just give him a break and catch your breath, get yourself feeling good again, and now we'll see where it goes from here. But the puck movement stuff we need from him, but there's also a ability to defend and be adequate in our own zone that's an important factor of the game. And he was struggling with that because he was whatever you call it, just conditioning had maxed out and then dropped off for a day. So said he felt good out there today. So hopefully we'll see a better player tomorrow.
And so you do expect him to get back in?
Yeah, I expect him to be back in tomorrow. Yeah.
Clef bomb, just a maintenance.
Yeah, just maintenance. Yeah.
Have you the power play's been really good this year, is in the top 3. But have you thought of putting Ethan Bear on the first power play because he's a right shot and he gets the shots through?
Jimmy, we've thought about a lot of things. We talk about that every morning.
Well, or would you consider doing it?
We consider it. Yeah, consider it. I agree with you in the fact that we don't have enough shot or middle shot presence out there. Now, that being said, you got some pretty good guys on the flanks that are making some plays there, but if that's all you do, then teams defend it easier. So we've touched on a lot of different aspects of that, of finding ways to get more pucks to the net, and the difference between a left-hander and a right-hander there might help us in that situation.
And one more on Sam Gagne. He starts in the first line last game. Looks like he might be an extra.
Yeah, but that's Sam. Like, that's the good thing about Sam. He can play in a lot of different roles. He's a smart player, and he's one of those guys. Like, there's 2 or 3 games you try to grab him at that peak, and he can give you something, and then drops off. Somebody else jumps up there a little bit, So it's Sam's a smart player. He understands the game. He can jump into different roles, and that's really that's his role on our team. So one day he can jump in there and feel like he's jumping with those guys, can make plays with those guys, and the next time we're looking for something different. It's just the way it's going to go for him.
One last thing. Would you show your own team how St. Louis moves the puck in a positive way to say, or do you just look at your own roster and say, okay, we don't.
Like what do you mean in a positive way?
Well, hard passes on the tape, get your puck out of the end. Or would you look at your own team and says, okay, we don't have a team quite as good as the Stanley Cup champions, so I can say it, but
in all the fancy stats that I get to see, we're one of the top 5 or 6 teams that move the puck out of our own zone. I think ahead of St. Louis. Now, St. Louis, if you look at that group of D, St. Louis you got the young Dunn kid's a real good player, and you got Bouwmeester and all 3 guys on the right side are good puck movers. So they got a group that they move it hard, they move it fast, and that's because they defend hard and fast. So that's they're the champions for a reason, right? So those are things that we want to get our group to do, but we've got to do them a little better. But some of the stuff that we're doing, we've been efficient at some of the things we're doing, but you can always do it better.
Dave, when it comes to leadership school back to Nugent, the 5-on-5 point production, do you think it's just a matter of time for him?
I hope so. There's some things we can do to help him, but he's putting a lot of pressure on himself too. The players do that. I mean, the coach doesn't have to tell him, hey, you got to get scoring. They've thought about it way before you have. So, but he knows he takes responsibility for his role on the team, and he knows he has to. He can make things easier on a lot of people if his line contributes, not just himself, but his line. So he's well aware of that, and we'll continue to work that way, and hopefully it comes around for him.